just my opinion, okay? It's just my opinion that Karen Reid is guilty of reversing into John O'Keefe and leaving him to die in the blizzard on the ground outside the house at 34 Fairview. And I hope she's going to be found guilty. She knew always that she'd done this. She realised when Yannetti told her that she was culpable, if this is what had happened, that she would be going to prison, that, you know, life was going to be a little bit nasty for a while. But instead of womaning up, admitting what she did in her drunken rage, she started changing her story. She started lying. She started blaming others. She started projecting. In fact, she was acting like the malignant narcissist that I believe she is. Now, so with a little help from YouTube's Dr. Ramani. So in the malignant narcissist, we see further patterns. You know, we see these patterns of exploitativeness, being controlling, the person, their meanness, how menacing they can be, how cruel they can be. They're very deceitful. They lie to suit their interest and protect their own ego. And there is a lot of crossover with antisocial personality disorder. You know, this malignant narcissist will have these traits, and they can be, the deceit or deceptfulness, willingness to exploit others for any personal gain whatsoever, the willful disregard of others' needs and the safety of others. They're ethically and legally sketchy. They will lie, they will intimidate. I mean, who the frick is this sounding like if not Karen Reid? It is about power, it's about control, so it's about gaining those things and even gaining money. So it's the oppression of others, isn't it? It's about their pleasure, you know, so they're putting their needs ahead of the other person's needs. They can be drawn to addictive and compulsive behaviors. They are very intense. They usually do become successful because of the way that they need to see themselves, and they need others to see them as such, and they are often driven to become successful. They are aggressive. Physical violence is often something that happens within their relationships. This could be even interpersonally between them and business partners, for example, not necessarily an intimate partner. A lot of anger. They throw around a lot of insults. They can be cruel. Okay. Higher likelihood of abusing their partners, employees, etc. The malignant narcissist patterns that you see, it's bordering on paranoia. It goes beyond, you know, this usual hypersensitivity that some people might have. They do believe that people are out to get them, and that people are against them, and so they will accuse their partners of cheating and of all sorts of maybe unethical behavior. M. Scott Peck talks about the projection of malignant narcissists. They can do this thing where they will lie. They can lie, know they're lying, and yet believe that it's not them, but it's others that hold the traits that they just need to reject outside of themselves, because they can't bear to be seen for the real evil that they are. So they never They might, for example, never let their phone out of their sight, and it might be really encrypted so that someone just can't pick up their phone and read their messages. They do believe in the conspiracies against them, and I can't remember his real name, but you know, she's in cahoots with Turtle Boy. Definitely a psychopath. She talks to him on the regular, and it's not healthy. Their paranoia fuels their rage. They violently rage at people they think are out to harm them, or, you know, maybe are rejecting them. And this is what she was doing to John O'Keefe, isn't it? They view the world through a lens of threat. They are so committed to exploiting people, they project it onto others. And a guy called Williams in 2002 said, you know, with his dark triad information, it really does closely align with dark triad because of these traits and how they do draw people in, the people then that they accuse of things and can be very cruel to and that they abuse. They pull them in with their charm, but you know, they're very impulsive, they lack guilt, they have very little regard for consequences, and they're very willing to exploit others. The Machiavellian side of this is the superficiality, very calculated, unethical. They're all about their reputation, and so they can be very cunning around that. You know, disagreeable, callous, dishonest. Who is this sounding like? If I don't run out of time here, I'm going to go through some of the lies that Karen Reid has told you. Might have to be in another brief interview. Dr. Harmony, continuing. Dark Triad captures themes of malignant narcissism and how dangerous they are. You know, why are they attractive? For the usual reasons. You know, how charismatic they are. How confident they are. They might appear to be fearless. They could even have a bit of swagger, although, you know, the texts between Higgins and Karen, I think that's showing a lot of these MN traits, but I don't think it's showing a lot of swagger, and I think it does show her true lack of sense of belief in herself, you know, for the true person that she is. I think holding oneself in high regard, or rather needing people to see you in a certain way, doesn't necessarily reflect how you feel about yourself. So they might seem strong or brave, you know, and that gives the partner a false sense of comfort and confidence in that person and in being with that person, right? So they might come on strong for power and control. That, you know, the way that they're trying to control you can be misinterpreted as this person really, really liking you and being really into you. And it can come across as that they're passionate rather than what it really is. And that can be something rather menacing, the way that they want to control you, and the fact that they could be potentially rather dangerous. They might seem very attentive in the early stages. They'll want to learn more about you. It's basically so that they can learn things that they can use against you. And they will frighten you. They will try to control you. And what happens is the victim of this malignant narcissist, you know, they placate, right? They don't want to poke the bear. So it does lead to obedience, the response of obedience. You know, the fear of the rage that they're going to receive, you know, the wrath of the malignant narcissist if they displease them. And that can paralyze someone, that fear, into, you know, placating and staying with someone, you know. Yeah. And I'm sure they can, you know, the charm and everything, the offensive that the malignant narcissist goes on doesn't help, you know, them loosen away either. So, you know, it keeps them on the hook, so to speak. Yeah. So some of the lies that Karen Reid has said, you know, now what causes a malignant narcissist? I don't want to blame the parents, but goodness gracious me, the father threw her in it, didn't he? Is he just stupid, or is this just, I don't know. but it would be abuse in childhood, pampering by a parent, you know, the over-pampering, authoritarian parenting, unpredictable care. It can actually be genetic, and we know that there can be variations in the grey and white matter of people with this disorder, just like in other people that have suffered trauma, they have issues with grey matter, etc. So closely linked to antisocial personality disorder, NPD, aggression, sadism to self or others, and paranoia. Okay, so Eric Fromm is another one, actually, another good one to look up about narcissists, malignant narcissists. He wrote something called People of the Lie. And yeah, how it's all about self-image and their deep fear of being inferior, being inadequate, and this side of themselves, you know, perfectly normal in nature, maybe human nature, but it exposes them. They don't want to be exposed to others as having made mistakes, or even possessing that potential for evil, which they must all know that they have. And in the malignant narcissist, how they cope with that is, you know, with their conscience, it's to force the conscience into dormancy by those continual acts of self-deception. When morality is challenged, they resort to, you know, rationalizations, confabulations, and other defense mechanisms to maintain feeling of moral righteousness, and thus bypassing the conscience and escaping feelings of guilt. You know, so scapegoating through projection as well onto others. Again, all of this, exactly what we're seeing with Ms. Karen Reid in both of her trials, and in all her mouthing off in all the TV shows and interviews that she has done that should be her downfall, because she has quite clearly stated exactly what happened that night in January when she ran into her partner John O'Keefe with her motor vehicle. So she knew she was going to find him on the lawn, okay, and she should have been trying to find him on a sofa or on a bed. She was so paranoid about that, right? But no, she knew she was gonna find him on the lawn. Why would she be panicking? What, you know, she shouldn't be worried about him being anything other than maybe just being pissed off and not wanting to be in her presence, or, you know, being unfaithful, which of course, narcissistic wound. You know, so we know that she went and got Jen McCabe, and she talks about, yeah, they fear their own evil. They do have sadism. They do have a need for admiration, a disregard for others, antisocial behavior, inflated sense of self. Fear they will come face to face with their own evil. This terror is so chronic, so interwoven into the fabric of their being, that they may not even feel it as such. And if they could, their omnipresent narcissism will prohibit them from ever acknowledging it. Right, so on Dateline, he didn't look mortally wounded when I dropped him off at the house. Huh? At the party? Huh? What do you mean he didn't look mortally wounded? Oh, he looked wounded? What did I write down about his dad? Yeah, his story, because it changed so dramatically, right? She's made lots of incriminating statements, and you know, they even make up the story, her defense, about this gravelly voiced Mike getting in touch with them saying, hey, you need to look inside. Like, what? I mean, who's got a gravelly voice besides me at this moment, being quite croaky? I'm Karen Reid. So yeah, I think that's her subconscious self. So on 25 Investigates, her father saying that she said at the hospital she felt she struck something. The mother looks over at him like she can't believe, you traitor, you stupid idiot. What do you mean? I remember he says, what do you mean? I remember backing up and hitting something. You know, even Davy Yannetti was saying at first, oh, she had no criminal intent. Because, you know, they're thinking, oh, how can we get around this where, look, you know, hey, she'd done it, but it wasn't malicious or anything. No, she was in a rage. She wanted to punish him. She wanted to hurt him. She did it without thinking, and now she's hopefully going to pay the consequences. You know, she's devastated at what happened. He's the one that told us she's going to have culpability. She says, oh, 3 days later, after thinking about it, she's decided that, you know, hey, I didn't hit him after all. It's bananas. I think this is on INTV. I'm not sure. When she's there, she goes, it was just a lawn and a heap. It wasn't a log or a bush. It was a weird-shaped lump. You know, and at the time in those elements, you know, I was looking to find him on the side of the road. I was expecting to find him. She was expecting to find him. She was expecting to find him in the blizzard, out on the lawn, harmed. Not inside the house. She was expecting to find him outside the house. Interview in 2020 about the vodka. She's lying about how loaded she was. She tries to explain it away and diminish it. You know, just rambles on about it. April the 30th, 2024, an interview for ID docuseries, talking about her drinking, how, oh, it wouldn't have been as clear, but, you know, I knew exactly what I was doing. She just can't make out one way or not the other. Did she, oh, maybe I hit him in the knee? You know, he got out of the car at Fairview. It was stormy. I'd had a few cocktails. I didn't black out. I wasn't as lucid as I would have been if I'd, you know, gone to bed at 9 o'clock after drinking some tea. On 2020, I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway. She's talking about how she's driving drunk. I mean, you know, reckless abandon for other people's safety. They all seem to have it though, didn't they? But then says she was driving safely. It's ridiculous because she was flicking her lights, you know, hitting her brakes lightly as she'd go through traffic lights just to warn the person behind her, you know. So that means she was driving safely because that's what her dad had told her about driving safely. You know, she knew that morning her tail light was broken, but she had no memory of hitting a 200-pound man, of a 200-pound man hitting my tail light, not the other way around. Oh, but I don't black out, she says in the next breath. You know, none of this makes sense, she keeps saying. I don't think anyone with any logic thinks I hit him with my passenger side tail light in the head on another cop's lawn, go home, sleep it off, go and look for him the next day. I mean, what sort of criminal mastermind am I? Not a very good one. She said that on some TV show interview, didn't she? She's just basically telling you right then what she did. When she calls Jim McCabe and, anyway. She calls Kerry Roberts before she's found John, telling her John's dead. I know people probably dispute everything like that. Other things she says, you know, I dropped him at the waterfall. Karen McCabe reminds her she saw her vehicle at the house. I thought I could have run over him. I thought I could have hit his knee. You know, she says these things, okay? She says these things. Anyway, I really have to go, so I'll see you later. I'll upload this and maybe try and make it better. Sorry, it's a bit bleh, because, yeah, I just wanted to spit that out. She just infuriates me. She has done exactly what you would expect a malignant narcissist to do.